Yo, welcome back to Infant Investors, the home for all new and non-investors. I'm Curtis, and today we got a very sad video for you. Thomas Cook has officially been liquidated. I'm going to do a video that's going to just let you know, what this might mean for you as a shareholder, as this channel is focused on new and non-investors. If you have invested in Thomas Cook and you are wondering what you need to do, I'm going to let you know in this video. And I'm also going to give my general recommendations and advice when you guys are selecting and picking stocks, because this is a really poignant situation. This is quite a pivotal and historic situation from a British standpoint. But irrespective of wherever in the world you invest or whatever company you invest in, it just goes to show that no company is exempt from this potential fate. And it seems like there were warning signs as well. So yeah, if you want to know more, please like, please comment, please subscribe. I'm on a mission to get to 2,500 subscribers and get the world of investing out to more people in a clear and simple and transparent manner. But first, if you go to thomascook.co.uk, you'll be redirected to this landing page, which basically sadly says Thomas Cook UK PLC and associated UK entities have entered compulsory liquidation and are now under the control of the official receiver. The UK business has ceased trading with immediate effect, and all future flights and holidays are cancelled. Wow. A dedicated support service is being provided by the Civil Aviation Authority to assist customers currently overseas and those in the UK with future bookings. Please visit thomascook.caa.co.uk for further information. For me, the real key poignant point on this screen is with immediate effect. There was no forewarning of this. What companies could do is to say, in the next 30 days, we will cease trading. And that means that, there are probably people that booked a holiday yesterday. And then obviously now, the announcement that they've ceased trading has happened today. And so a little bit of forewarning probably could have helped, a lot of people, make better decisions with booking their holidays and so forth. I'm pretty sure all of the employees didn't even know until today as well, which is really sad as well. So again, a bit of forewarning could have, this could have been handled a bit better, in my personal opinion. This could have been handled a bit better because so many people are affected by this. I will leave this link in the description. This is from gov.uk, which is an incredible resource for pretty much anything UK. And in this specific link, it talks about Thomas Cook information for customers, for employees, for creditors. Creditors being somebody that Thomas Cook owes money to. So let's say you've done a piece of work for them, you're a consultant of some kind, or maybe you refurbished one of their branches, and you're independent small business, and they owe you some money. That's what a creditor means in this scenario. And obviously shareholders. So I'll leave the link in the description in case you fit into any one of the first three categories, but I'm going to primarily focus on shareholders. So I'm going to scoot all the way down to the shareholders section, which is here. And it reads, Thomas Cook Group PLC's listing with the London Stock Exchange has been suspended. At the present time, Thomas Cook shares cannot be traded on the exchange. Unfortunately, as a result of the liquidation appointments, there is no prospect of a return to Thomas Cook shareholders. I've got previous videos where I talk about if a company does get liquidated, if they do go bankrupt, and typically what you might find is that bondholders will get some of their money first. Obviously creditors will get their money first of whatever is remaining. When they liquidate all of the assets and try to pay people back, they'll pay bondholders, they'll pay creditors first. And if there is some remaining, they might pay to some shareholders, maybe ones that have preferred shares, etc. In the case where this company is effective immediately ceasing to trade, it's a pretty symbolic message that they obviously have no money whatsoever. I would probably bet that a lot of bondholders and creditors probably won't even get some of their money back as well, let alone obviously shareholders is pretty much out of the question. So if you have invested in Thomas Cook, then unfortunately it does mean that that money is officially lost. We do talk about there are only two ways to really lose money in the stock market. One is you sell a losing position, and two is if a company goes bankrupt. And it's more rare that this would happen, and relatively speaking, when you think about the number and the volume of stocks in the market, then yeah, it is rare. However, it is still probable, and obviously, you know, it does go to the fact that you guys do need to focus on the fundamentals of a company, so you are making sound investment choices, which I will obviously talk about a bit later in this video. Shareholders should be aware of any approaches in the form of third parties offering to dispose of their shares in exchange for the upfront payment of fees. The FCA website has information about how to avoid and report share scams. So look, there's going to be a lot of these companies popping up like weeds in concrete, saying to you, look, listen, if you pay us X amount, we're going to help you dispose of your shares and get you some of a return. It's a scam. You will lose money. You've already lost the Thomas Cook money, but you'll also lose additional money to these companies. So definitely avoid and definitely report if those companies do approach you. Now, companies in liquidation. So this obviously shows all of the subsidiaries of Thomas Cook, which is, you know, there's loads of subsidiaries, and obviously every single one of these companies have effectively been made to have been liquidated. So yeah, I'll leave that link in the description. I'm going to scoot over to BBC now, just to give you some, you know, final thoughts on the situation. Thomas Cook collapses as last-ditch rescue talks fail. Thomas Cook has collapsed after last-minute negotiations aimed at saving the 178-year-old holiday firm failed. Listen, Britain is a very, very proud country, and this is a 178-year-old British organisation, and the government. And there's probably gonna be a bit more information about the government's, you know, role in this. If the government has not bailed out a 178-year-old British firm, a pillar of British society, the oldest travel company in the UK, then to be honest, it's a big sign that other companies, they won't really support and bail out. Now the question is, but they bailed out the banks. But the bank situation is very, very different. If they let banks fail, you are talking, you know, 30, 40, 50% of the UK economy potentially being hit. You are talking, you know, multiple millions and millions of households being negatively affected by that. So their hand in the banking situation is almost forced. You can kind of see it like the government is kind of beholden to the banks in some way, shape or form, but they're not beholden to private or publicly traded companies. And irrespective of how long they've been a part of Britain, it doesn't mean that they're going to get any sort of, you know, special attention or special support. So it's something to be very, very mindful of when you are picking your stocks, that any company that has a bad financial situation, bad debt, etc., can potentially not get supported, and you can obviously lose your money. It has also triggered the biggest peacetime repatriation aimed at bringing more than 150,000 British holiday makers home. I mean, that's crazy. When you look at the share price since 2007, you can see a nice trend down, or not a nice trend, but a trend down, a clear trend down, shall I say. However, in 2011, about 2012, before 2013 to 2014, it started to pick up. So it'll be interesting to find out what happened at this particular period, because it did start to pick up. However, for whatever reason, it wasn't able to sustain that uptrend, and it started to obviously trend downwards again. I think they ceased trading once it hit 3p effectively. Now, the biggest thing for me, like the biggest thing I care about in this situation, obviously I care about the repatriation, but I know the Civil Aviation Authority will repatriate. But this puts 22,000 jobs at risk. Basically, at risk is a nice way to say. They've all been made, you know, redundant, effective immediately, including 9,000 in the UK. That is if you think about the average family composition, you know, you're talking about potentially 80,000 families that have been affected by this. Obviously 22,000 specific individuals, but about 80,000 families or so, you know, and obviously 9,000 in the UK. This is a significant thing. And the fact that the British government, you know, decided, opted against supporting a company that had this amount of exposure and this amount of families, specifically in the UK, that would be affected, is very, very telling. And again, it just, from a shareholder standpoint, it just means that don't think that because a company is a British stable and it's been around for X amount of times that it's exempt. No company is exempt from, you know, this potential fate. Now, another thing to make clear is, what is the government doing? So the BBC understands the government was asked for a bailout of 250 million. Listen, in terms of the government expenditure on an annual basis, 250 million probably equates to the amount they spend on cleaning the Houses of Parliament. Like, it's probably equal to that. Relatively speaking, in terms of all of the money that the government has from taxes and from whatever other activities, 250 million is a small amount. This is half, in fact, of the amount that Serious Minerals needed. And I did a video on Serious Minerals, and it wasn't to spite Serious Minerals. It's really to try and understand why people would invest in Serious Minerals. Is it just because it's a punt, which I think is perfectly fine if you only put an amount that you don't mind losing? Or did you genuinely think it's going to be bailed out and it's going to be supported? And so you wanted to obviously get in early. If Thomas Cook, a 178-year-old British company with 22,000 employees that travels maybe 150,000 people on a daily basis potentially, that needed only 250 million at least to buy some time. If they can't get that from the government, then to me, personally speaking, nobody is going to get bailed out by the government except for banks. So I just want to be, my thoughts and feelings and my predictions is that if there's any other company looking for a government, loan or a government backing to help support it, and it's not a bank, in my mind, c'est la vie. Like, it's not going to happen. It's really, really not going to happen. If Thomas Cook can't get 250 million, I don't think most companies is going to really get that support, which was denied. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps defended the move on the Today program. I fear it would have kept them afloat for a very short period of time, and then we would have been back in a position of needing to repatriate people in any case. He said, listen, I agree and disagree with this, personally speaking. I fully agree that it's only going to help for a small period of time. That I 100% agree with. If you look at Thomas Cook's balance sheet, if you look at their debt, if you look at their revenues, their cash flow, there's no profit. You could see that 250 million is a dent in the water, and it's a ripple in the water. It's not going to really move the needle. But what for me it would have done is it would have bought some time. It would have let holiday makers know that this is going to happen in the next 1 month or 6 weeks or 2 months or 3 months, so people can plan accordingly and plan ahead. It would have stopped people from probably booking holidays as recent as yesterday, and effectively losing out on that. Obviously they're ATOL protected, but they might not get all of their money back. It all depends on certain, different exclusions and limitations. And it probably would have forewarned all of the employees that, in the next month, we've got a month left and this is your month's notice, and we won't be able to trade, or maybe we've got 6 weeks left or 2 months left. At least that way as well, for shareholders, they would have been well informed. So for me, I would have tried to take a bit more of the compassionate approach, whereby even if you don't get 250 million, maybe you get some money so that you can buy some time, you can let people know, and people can make alternative plans, apply for jobs, cancel holidays, whatever it is that they need to do. But this whole immediate effect situation just basically suggests to me the government had absolutely no faith in them whatsoever, and just basically said, we're not going to do that. The company's large debts, as we know, and high street focused business made it a poor candidate for survival, he said. And yeah, I walked into a high street about 3 weeks ago, and honestly, this was peak time on a weekend, and it was a ghost town. It was an absolute ghost town. Like, at the moment, people have just moved to online. So if Thomas Cook have not, pivoted and focused to be online more, then obviously that's just a sign of, bad management at the top, to be fair. Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell told the BBC the government should have bailed out Thomas Cook, if only to stabilise the situation while a real plan for the future of the company could be addressed. That's kind of what I just said. And yeah, there's going to be some people that think, it should have been bailed out for a small period of time. There's going to be some people that's going to say, why is my tax money going to be bailed out? And for me, the real problem here is the management. Like, who are the managers? Who's the CEO and the CFO? They probably knew and saw this coming for a long time, And for me personally, it's probably absolute mismanagement from the management team. These people are probably paid multi millions of pounds, and their poor decisions have now affected 22,000 employees and obviously 150,000 holiday makers, and I think the number is 600,000 people that haven't even gone on holiday yet that have now been affected as well. So it's a ridiculous amount. Prime Minister Boris Johnson pledged to help stranded holiday makers, which is great, but also questioned whether company directors were properly motivated to sort such matters out. See, were company directors properly motivated to sort such matters out? This is exactly what I just said. I don't think that the company directors, even if they had the £250 million, would have been good stewards of that money and probably would have done the right thing. And so maybe it just needed to happen this way, which is exceptionally sad when you think about it. In terms of my recommendations for you guys, look, we talked about the serious situation not too long ago, and now we're talking about the Thomas Cook situation. For me, the key thing is here, a 178-year-old company could not get £250 million from the government. When you are investing, it's really, really crucial that you start looking at the fundamentals of a company. I've got a whole series on fundamentals, and it's the least watched series of all of my series. And to be honest, I'm really, really, I'm really honored, and I'm really, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word, but I'm honored that you guys like the portfolio updates and some of the other videos. But as I say, the fundamental series, it's probably my favorite series because it actually lets you know how to look at assets and debt, how to look at volatility, how to look at PE and PEG and price to book ratio, how to look at, all of the other metrics that you might need to evaluate so you can start to select stocks on your own, similar to how Warren Buffett might do. Because that for me is the key to investing, to understand the balance sheet, to understand the fundamentals of a company, particularly when we're talking about equities here, and then obviously making sound investment decisions. I often say you need about 3 reasons to invest in any one company. I say that all the time. So the 3 reasons could be it's undervalued, it's got no debt, and it pays a high dividend, hypothetically. That for me gives you a little bit more cushion that you're making the right decision. Some people would invest in Thomas Cook purely because it's a well-recognized brand name. But for me personally, that's just not enough from an investment standpoint. Remember, when you're investing to generate wealth in the long term for you and your families and so forth. If Thomas Cook, a company, cannot generate wealth for themselves, how the hell are they going to generate wealth for you? And that's the type of thing you guys need to really start thinking of. If a company is not profitable, if a company has bad cash flow management, if a company has too high levels of debt that they're unable to cover with short-term assets or even long-term assets, that for me are significant red flags. And ethically, should you even support a company that can't manage their own books? Now, there are always going to be situations like, these recent IPOs that come out, that a company is going to be in their growth phase, they're starting out, and they're going to have more debt than they're going to have assets or cash, etc., or profit. There will be exceptions to the rule, absolutely. But if a company's been running for 178 years, then for me, there's just no remorse in terms of that, and I will not put my hard-earned money to work in these stocks, just because they can't manage their money. So I don't think they're going to manage my shareholder money, to be honest, and I don't care how much it is. And so for me, this channel's for new and non-investors, and I think that the key takeaway from me to you guys is definitely look at the fundamentals of a company when you are investing. Don't think that any company is absolutely 100% safe, unless it's something like Apple, maybe, because they've just got cash. But even them, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. There might be some lawsuit that wipes them out. Who knows? But I will say, just focus on the fundamentals. And if you are going to take a punt in the likes of the Thomas Cooks, the Sirius, and whoever else comes in the world, then obviously make sure you're taking a punt with an amount of money that you are happy to lose if that situation occurs. If you have invested in Thomas Cook, make sure you go check out that link in the description if you want to know more. And yeah, my last thoughts and feelings go out to the 22,000 people that have lost their jobs. I really hope that if you are watching this and you're one of those people, that you do find, a new, better alternative employment as soon as possible, and I just hope that you aren't too badly affected. And yeah, if you are an investor, just definitely focus, and be wise with your investment choices. Other than that, take care. Have a great week, guys. Really sad news to start the week, but hopefully, you can learn from this and there can be better opportunities for you going forward in the future. Please like, please comment, please subscribe if you found this useful, and I will catch you next time with another investment video. Happy investing. Peace.